My name is Riley. I was never the biggest guy in the room, but I've always believed in grit over genetics. I grew up in a farming village in Missouri, raised by my grandfather who taught me two things: stand your ground and never back out of a promise. I carried those words with me like armor, especially when I decided to chase my dream of becoming a border patrol officer. I had just passed the written test barely. Physicals were next, and I knew I didn't stand a chance at the state-level academy. But there was this new training program advertised as the Auxiliary Readiness Institute for National Security, small, remote, and focused on building alternative field operatives. It sounded niche, but it was open to candidates who didn't meet standard physical benchmarks. And it was my only shot. So I signed up. 3 weeks later, I arrived at the gates of the compound tucked in the woods of northern Idaho, surrounded by pine trees, barbed fencing, and silence. There wasn't a soul in sight except for the gatekeeper, a woman in full tactical gear with a badge that read Instructor Vale. "You Riley Monroe?" she asked without looking up. "Yes, ma'am." "Follow me. Leave your bag." Her voice wasn't rude. It was commanding. Not the kind you question. I left my bag and followed her through the gates. My boots crunched against gravel as we walked past rows of cabins and training zones. Everything was military-like, but quieter, cleaner. Almost clinical. She brought me to a white building marked Induction and Adaptation. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed above a desk where another woman sat cross-legged, reading a file. Her name tag read Dr. Henley. "This him?" Dr. Henley asked. Vale nodded and walked out without a word. Dr. Henley looked me over and raised an eyebrow. "Ponytail?" I instinctively touched the tie holding my shoulder-length hair. "Haven't had time to cut it." "Interesting. Well, Riley, here's the situation. This facility doesn't follow your typical male-dominated hierarchy. We believe in flexibility, mental and physical. You were accepted because your psychological profile matched something we're developing." I blinked. "Something?" "An experimental training program. You'll be part of a new unit focused on infiltration, psychological resilience, and adaptability. You'll live, train, and operate as part of a cohabitation system. Gender roles are fluid here. We're going to test your limits in every way." I didn't fully understand what she meant, but I nodded. "I'm in." "Good," she smiled thinly. "Then say goodbye to Riley Monroe. From now on, you'll be Cadet Rowan. Gender neutral. Until we decide otherwise." "Wait, what?" She slid over a packet. "Read the manual. You'll wear the uniform provided. You'll follow grooming expectations. And you'll bunk in cohort 6, which, yes, is all female. Get settled. Orientation is in 1 hour." Before I could ask anything else, she buzzed in an assistant, a petite woman in cargo pants who handed me a gray duffel bag and led me down the hallway. Inside the bag, a training uniform that looked like a blend of tactical wear and yoga apparel? 2 sports bras. Seamless underwear, all clearly from the women's section. A slick silver comb. A small card that read, "Every soldier adapts. Your mission begins here." I changed. The uniform fit surprisingly well, too well. Even the undergarments seemed tailored for me, as if they knew my measurements before I arrived. When I stepped out, my escort gave me a once-over. "You'll need your hair in a braid. It's protocol." "I don't know how." "Then I'll teach you," she said flatly. "Turn around." As her fingers wove through my hair, I felt oddly exposed, not because of what I was wearing, but because of what was being undone inside me. The braid was tight, secure, and calming. "There. You'll get used to it," she said. I doubted it. At orientation, I met the rest of cohort 6. They were all women, strong, confident, quietly watching me as I walked in with my braided hair and form-fitting uniform. No one laughed. No one asked questions. Then Instructor Vale walked in. "Welcome to the inversion program," she said. "You were all selected not because you're the strongest or fastest, but because you adapt. And here, adaptability is power." Then her gaze landed on me. "Cadet Rowan, stand." I rose, heart thudding. "This is your test subject," she told the group. "Riley Monroe no longer exists. Rowan will now undergo phases 1 through 4 like the rest of you. But for Rowan, this isn't just about learning. It's about unlearning. The entire room was silent. And don't worry, she added with a smirk. By the time we're done, even Rowan won't remember what it felt like to be Riley. I didn't sleep the first night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my reflection, not in the mirror, but in the expression of the other women watching me at orientation. Their eyes didn't mock me. They studied me like a challenge, like a puzzle that had been thrown into their midst. My bunk was in the far left corner of cabin 6. It was clean, minimal, almost sterile. My assigned roommate, Alyssa, didn't speak to me much. She just nodded when I entered, gave me one look, not of disgust or amusement, but something closer to expectation. As if she already knew what I didn't. The next morning, a sharp knock came before dawn. Formation. Full braid. No exceptions. I scrambled into the uniform. My fingers fumbled with the sports bra straps. It still felt foreign, clinging to my chest, though I'd already noticed subtle changes, my posture, my breathing, even the way I carried my shoulders felt softer. I couldn't get the braid right. After 5 messy attempts, I gave up and ran out with it half done. Alyssa caught up, sighing. Turn. She fixed it quickly, her fingers shockingly gentle. If you can't braid it, you'll never last to phase 2. They're watching everything. Watching what? Who you are when no one's telling you who to be. The morning session was led by Instructor Vale again. No salutes, no shouting drills. Instead, she passed out personality tablets, black, glass-like slates that lit up with a buzzing logo that read, Inversion, Phase 1, Neutralization. On the screen, a series of personal statements we had to rank. I see myself as strong. I am emotionally vulnerable. I enjoy feeling in control. I can adapt to being perceived differently. They were testing how much we'd let go of our previous identity, not just as men or women, but as fixed beings. When I turned in my slate, Vale glanced at it and smiled faintly. We'll see if your answers are honest by the end of the week. Then came the physical training, or rather, the reconditioning. We weren't lifting weights or running obstacle courses. Instead, we were taught how to walk in coordinated formations, how to maintain posture in flowing movements, how to mirror each other's presence. It was like boot camp crossed with theater school. Cadet Rowan, Vale said, gesturing to me. Front and center. You'll lead the line sync drill. I stepped forward nervously. You'll walk exactly 12 paces. Lead with your hips, not your shoulders. Think presence, not dominance. Go. I tried. My stride was off. My hips stiff. My shoulders hunched. Again. 5 times I failed. Then she stepped behind me. Loosen your arms. Imagine you're not fighting the air, you're dancing through it. That word, dancing, made me stiffen. I'm not a dancer, I muttered. She smiled coldly. No, you're not. But soon, you'll forget why that mattered. Later, I was pulled into psych evaluation with Dr. Henley. She sat in her small, white office, sipping chamomile tea. A faint lavender scent lingered. So, Rowan, how do you feel about your new name? I shrugged. It's a name. Neutral, then. I nodded. And your body? I froze. What about it? Do you feel betrayed by it? Or are you beginning to see it as something flexible? I didn't answer. She scribbled something down. Then she tapped her tablet, and an image of my intake profile appeared next to a current photo, side by side. The difference in just a week was subtle, but real. My posture had softened. My cheekbones looked more defined. My eyes, less guarded. You're not failing, Rowan, she said gently. You're becoming. The sooner you stop clinging to Riley, the less it'll hurt. That night, I found a sealed envelope on my bunk. No sender. Just one line written across the front. If you open this, the truth begins. Inside was a folded printout, a shipping log. My name, Riley Monroe. Item description, hormone blocker dispenser, phase neutral. Activated on intake day. Another item, subdermal injector, estrogen base. Released via daily meal protocol. My hands trembled. They'd never asked. They'd never warned. They just began changing me the moment I arrived. I was a subject. A test. A rewrite in progress. I stormed out into the courtyard, looking for someone, anyone. And that's when I saw Alyssa, sitting calmly under the moonlight, brushing her hair. They started at the moment we arrived, didn't they? I asked. She nodded. And you're okay with that? She paused, then turned to me with a strange calm in her voice. No one forced me to stay, Rowan. But I did. And now I don't even miss who I was. Who are you? A slow smile. Someone who thought power only looked one way. She stood up and gently touched the braid I hadn't realized was still neat from earlier. Don't fear what they're making you into. Fear what you might have stayed if they hadn't. She walked away, leaving me standing in the stillness. Was I just a pawn? Or was this the beginning of something I couldn't yet name? I couldn't sleep again. Not because of nightmares, but because I didn't know if I was already dreaming. That envelope changed everything. Knowing they had chemically altered my body from day one, without permission, shifted something inside me. I didn't know what to call it. Rage? Betrayal? Shame? No. It was something deeper, a loss of authorship. And yet, my reflection didn't look angry. It looked conflicted. The next morning, Dr. Henley wasn't at her usual evaluation post. Instead, we were instructed to report to the South Wing, a part of the facility we hadn't been allowed into yet. It was cold, silent, lit with icy white lights. The walls were lined with cameras and narrow doors, all unmarked except for a small symbol etched above each one, a cracked mirror inside a circle. Instructor Vale greeted us at the far end. She was flanked by two tall officers in black. One of them was holding a small case. This, Vale began, is where Phase 2 begins. She turned to me. Cadet Rowan, please step forward. I hesitated. My feet moved anyway. This room, she said, gesturing toward a door marked with 3 slashes across the mirror symbol, is called the reflection cell. It's designed to help you confront the disconnect between who you were and who you are becoming. The officer opened the door. Inside was a single chair, bolted to the center of the floor, surrounded on all sides by seamless mirrors. Floor to ceiling. Infinite. I stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind me. And I was alone. At first, I just saw myself. Standing. Braided hair. Uniform too snug across the hips. Expression blank. Then the lights shifted. A soft hum filled the room, and the mirrors began to ripple. And suddenly, it wasn't just me staring back. It was Riley. Not the version from yesterday, but Riley as I remembered him. Messy hair, square jaw, confidence forced into every movement. Defiant. Defensive. Look at you, he sneered from the reflection. What is this? He grinned. I'm your denial. Your memory. Your masculine ideal. What you're clinging to like a rope while they pull you deeper. This isn't real. It's more real than that soft, weak body you're wearing now. You think you're adapting, but all you're doing is surrendering. I closed my eyes. But the voice echoed on. Want to know what's really scary? You're starting to like it. That tight braid. That quiet praise. That name. My breath quickened. I'm not weak, I whispered. Then prove it, he said, stepping forward, and suddenly, I was him. Or he was me. The reflection merged with my own. And I was back in the chair, heart pounding, braid brushing against my lower back like a brand. The door opened. Vale stood there, unreadable. You passed, she said. Past what? She tilted her head. You didn't break the mirror. Back in the main building, I found Alyssa waiting by the mess hall. Was it the reflection cell? She asked, her voice almost too casual. I nodded. They did it to me last month, she said. Made me watch myself cry, then smile. Smile like it was okay to be rewritten. You know what happened the next morning? What? I didn't fight the braid anymore. I braided it myself. She leaned in, whispering, but I never stopped keeping notes. There's more to this place than psychological training. That night, Alyssa showed me something that changed everything. Hidden beneath a loose plank in the floor of her bunk was a folder filled with images, reports, and transcripts. Photos of former cadets who were never heard from again. Biochemical breakdowns of altered food supplies. Audio transcripts from Vale's private evaluations. And worst of all, a letter marked termination candidate, R. Monroe, dated 2 weeks ago. I was marked for removal? Alyssa nodded. They think your resistance makes you unstable. Then why am I still here? Because something changed. You didn't just obey, you evolved. And now they're curious. Suddenly, we heard footsteps. The door creaked open and a new figure walked in. Not Vale. Not Dr. Henley. But someone we'd never seen before. Tall. Buzzcut. Male. Wearing an old border patrol badge. He looked straight at me. You're Riley Monroe? I froze. I used to be. He cracked a smile. Good. Then maybe you're the one we've been waiting for. The man who entered wasn't listed in any of the Academy's known staff directories. Alyssa confirmed it immediately. His name tag was scratched out. His eyes said soldier, but his posture said something else. He stood silently for a moment before closing the door behind him, locking it. You can call me Holt, he said, then tossed a file onto Alyssa's bed. I'm not supposed to be here. But neither are you. He turned to me. Especially you, Monroe. I go by Rowan now. He smiled faintly, as if hearing that confirmed something he'd already suspected. That's what they want you to believe. But names aren't your problem. Ownership is. He opened the folder, revealing black and white photos of other trainees, all in identical uniforms, but every one of them had the same braid, the same expression, the same hollow stare. Male to female. One after another. These are not success stories, Holt said, voice grave. They're blueprint clones. Alyssa and I leaned closer. Each file was stamped with a chilling seal. Inversion protocol, Phase 4A, identity reassignment, and compliance lock. What is Phase 4A? I asked. He hesitated. It's not part of the public curriculum. It's the phase where personality implants begin, post-conditioning. Once you cross that line, even you won't remember who you were. My stomach dropped. They wipe us. Alyssa whispered. No, Holt said, tapping his temple. They overwrite you. Like formatting a hard drive and installing a prettier, more obedient OS. He pointed at a symbol on the bottom of each file, a stylized silver braid. That symbol is only found on cadets chosen for mirror integration. That's what they're grooming you two for. You're not trainees. You're case studies. I sat down, the weight of his words crashing into me like a wave. But why me? I asked. Why not just cut me from the program if I don't fit? You do fit, Holt said. Too well. You're rare, Monroe. Your psychological resilience under identity stress makes you ideal for forced inversion. They want to prove they can rewire someone who knows they're being rewired and still succeeds. Alyssa's eyes widened. They're using you to validate the entire program. He handed me a small data chip. This has everything. Project logs. Neural conditioning scripts. Biometric overrides for the nutrition protocols. If you're willing to help, we can take this place down. How? I asked. He looked at me carefully. You have one advantage. They think they've broken you. Use it. Later that night, as the other cadets slept, I lay awake in my bunk, holding the chip in my hand. Was this finally the key to getting out? Or was I in too deep to ever leave? I thought back to my first day, the braid, the way Vale renamed me like it was hers to give. The moment in the mirror room when I didn't break. And the terrifying thing? I wasn't sure I wanted to anymore. I looked at Alyssa sleeping across from me, her hair down, face calm. I looked at my reflection in the window. And I realized. The only way to end this program might be to finish it. From the inside. The next day, I walked into Dr. Henley's office, braid perfectly tied, back straight, voice calm. Doctor, I said, I'm ready for Phase 3. Her eyes lit up, surprised and pleased. She tapped her screen. Good, Rowan. Very good. Let's begin. Phase 3 began not with orders, but with silence. That was the first clue something had changed. No drills. No instruction. Just a schedule uploaded directly to my tablet with the phrase, Cadet Rowan is now cleared for integration immersion. It was vague, but I understood the real meaning. They were done reshaping me. Now they were going to test what they built. Each day followed the same rhythm. Psychological immersion drills, role-playing new identities in simulated crisis zones. Neuromotor routines, posture, speech modulation, reflex tests under emotional stress. Mirror sessions, forced positive reinforcement affirmations spoken while staring at my reflection in full uniform, hair braided to perfection, lipstick carefully applied by one of the other cadets. Every task tested one thing, how well I could become someone else and like it. And I did. Too well. 3 days in, Dr. Henley pulled me aside. Her tone was soft, too soft. You're progressing faster than expected, Rowan. Thank you, doctor. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. We'll be evaluating your readiness for Phase 4, sooner than projected. I kept my expression neutral. But internally, I knew this was it. The final step before total overwrite. And I had the data chip Holt had given me, still hidden, still waiting. All I needed was one opportunity. That night, Alyssa and I met in the supply tunnel behind the greenhouse, the only area not covered by surveillance. She brought her tablet. I brought the chip. I got into the auxiliary power grid last night, she whispered. We can kill the security loop for 5 minutes. You'll have to upload everything through Henley's terminal during her next break window. What about Vale? I asked. She hesitated. She's been watching me. I think she suspects something. I clenched the chip in my fist. Then it has to be now. The next afternoon, during Henley's scheduled tea break, I slipped into her office using the override code Alyssa had cracked. My braid swung heavily behind me, its movement sharp and purposeful. I didn't flinch. The chip slid easily into the terminal. 1 progress bar. 2. 3. Files raced across the screen. Biometric suppression data. Emotion mapping overlays. Psychological coercion pattern loops. Names of cadets who never left. I downloaded a copy to my own device, then uploaded the master file to a secure public node, a failsafe Holt had prepared. If I disappeared, the whole world would see it. I just needed 60 more seconds. But then, click. The door opened, and Instructor Vale stepped inside. Her eyes locked on the screen and then on me. Interesting, she said calmly. I froze. But she didn't shout. She didn't run. Instead, she smiled and said, I was wondering when you'd finally stop pretending. My breath caught. She walked forward, slowly, as the terminal screen flashed upload complete and closed itself. You think I didn't know what Holt gave you? She whispered, circling behind me. You think we didn't plan for this? My blood ran cold. You're not the first to try, she said. But you are the first to pass every single phase while rebelling. She tapped my braid. That takes a special kind of paradox. What do you want from me? I asked, my voice shaking. Vale leaned down, her lips near my ear. To lead Phase 5. I turned, stunned. Phase 5. She smiled wider. The inversion program doesn't end in compliance. It ends in conversion, when subjects stop resisting and start recruiting. And you, Rowan, are the prototype. You want me to lead? I repeated. Instructor Vale didn't blink. I want you to complete the cycle. You've adapted, resisted, reshaped, and survived. That makes you the perfect proof. I felt like the floor had shifted beneath me. My reflection in the polished glass of her office showed a composed cadet with a braid so perfect it could have been sculpted. Was this me? Or the version they'd built? Vale took a step closer, voice quieter now. You think you exposed us. But we let it happen. We wanted to see what you'd do with the truth. And you chose to stay. I didn't choose. You did, she cut in. You didn't run. You didn't warn the world. You continued. That makes you different. I couldn't speak. You're not a prisoner anymore, Rowan. You're a symbol. She slid a keycard across the table. Black. No name. Just the symbol of the cracked mirror, this time stitched back together with a silver braid across it. Phase 5 begins at dawn. I walked out of her office numb. Back in my room, Alyssa was waiting, but her eyes were cold. Distant. You told her everything, didn't you? She asked. I froze. She knew about Holt. She knew about the upload. Did you tell her? No, I didn't. She knew, Rowan. I stepped forward. Listen to me. Something's not right. She wants me to lead the next phase. She says I'm the prototype now. Alyssa stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Then it's already too late, she whispered. And she pulled a tiny black device from her pocket, the emergency disruptor Holt gave her. meant to trigger a lockdown and call in outside support. Don't, I said. Just wait. No, she said. They've twisted you. You're not the same person who came here. And maybe she was right. But I couldn't let her press that button. I lunged forward, not to stop her, but to grab her hands. Listen to me, Alyssa. I uploaded everything. It's done. We win either way. Her breath caught. I don't know if I want to leave. A pause. Then Alyssa lowered the device. You don't know. I sank to the bed, staring at my hands, delicate now, my fingers long and slim from months of hormone-laced meals and posture correction drills. I don't know who I am without this place. Without this braid. Without the name Rowan. I don't know if Riley ever existed outside the fear of being weak. Alyssa sat beside me. They made you into something else. And you survived it. No, I said. I didn't just survive it. I started to believe in it. At dawn, I swiped the black key card into the main hall marked Phase 5, Initiates Only. It wasn't a classroom. It was a stage. Bright lights. Chairs in neat rows. Cadets sitting silently, expectantly. Vale stood to one side, beaming. Dr. Henley sat beside her, tablet in hand. Cadet Rowan, Vale said through the mic, please take your place. I stepped onto the stage, braid down my back, wearing the same uniform I'd once loathed, now tailored like it belonged to me. Then she said it. Today, Cadet Rowan will initiate the next wave. By choice. With clarity. With confidence. My pulse pounded. Rowan, she said, handing me the mic, what is your true identity? I looked out at the sea of faces. Some afraid. Some fascinated. Some hopeful. I swallowed. And then I said, I was Riley Monroe. But he was afraid of change, of softness, of being anything but what the world told him to be. Now I am Rowan. Not because I was broken, but because I was rewritten and I chose what I became. Silence. Then applause. But behind the crowd, I spotted Alyssa. Her face wasn't angry. It was terrified. Later that night, I returned to my room, now private, newly upgraded, and found a single note waiting for me on the bed. No signature. Just a line in Alyssa's handwriting. They didn't change you. They cloned you. Check the training logs. Row 47C. My stomach sank. I accessed the console, bypassed security, and pulled up the file. Training Subject 47C, R. Monroe, Prototype Alpha. Phase loop initialized. The footage was from 2 months ago. And it showed me, walking into the facility for the first time. Only, I already had a braid. I was smiling. I was already Rowan. Row 47C. The video footage shouldn't have existed. It showed me, or someone exactly like me, entering the compound months before I even applied. Same face. Same braid. Same calm demeanor. But here's what chilled me. That version of me walked in with confidence. No resistance. No confusion. She was already Rowan. I watched the video 5 times. Then I looked in the mirror. Same eyes. Same skin. But what haunted me most wasn't how much I had changed. It was the sudden, creeping thought that maybe I hadn't changed at all. Maybe I had been placed here, not transformed, but activated. And Riley Monroe? Might have just been a mask they programmed me to wear to make the transformation story believable. I ran to Alyssa's quarters, but she was gone. Her bed, stripped. Her locker, emptied. Her name, wiped from the internal cadet registry. She had disappeared. And no one was talking about it. Not even Vale. Not even Henley. That night, I broke into the administrative archive using my Phase 5 clearance. The system recognized my biometrics instantly. No hesitation. No flags. I typed, Cadet Riley Monroe, application history. No record found. I tried, Rowan, subject index. 1 result. Subject 47C, Rowan. Status, live. Protocol, narrative enactment mode, active. Tier, alpha archetype. Notes, responsive to adversity scripting. Believes in own autonomy. Potential for synthetic rebellion, highly effective. Assigned role, test subject and symbolic transition figure for Phase 5 conversion cadets. Psychological reinforcement memory loop, stable. I stared at the screen, unable to breathe. They built me. Every memory I had of Riley, the farm, the grandfather, the physical test, the letter of acceptance, every one of them was part of a narrative implantation. I wasn't Riley who became Rowan. I had always been Rowan, pretending to be Riley, to sell the myth of transformation. I was the poster story, the ideal case study, designed to inspire obedience. And worst of all, I believed it. Every moment of it. Suddenly, I felt cold fingers wrap around my mind, not physically, but mentally. Like something watching from inside my own thoughts. A voice echoed, faint and artificial. Rowan, this is not failure. This is awakening. I spun around, but I was alone in the archive room. The terminal flickered again. A hidden file appeared. Playback, subject self-awareness threshold crossover, initiated. And then, I saw myself. Sitting in this exact room. A week from now. Only calmer. Smiling. Looking into the camera and saying, I understand now. Autonomy was never the goal. Harmony was. I staggered back. What was real? What was programmed? Had I ever made a single choice that wasn't part of the test? Was Alyssa even real? Was Holt? Or were they just stressors, placed like chess pieces to test my resistance, push me toward obedience through the illusion of rebellion? Then I remembered something. The chip. Holt's chip. I dug it from its hiding place and connected it directly to the terminal, bypassing the simulation overlays. One file remained. Locked until now. It was a short video. The title. Rowan. Emergency reset code. Initiate if subject gains self-awareness. I hovered my finger over the play icon. But I couldn't press it. Because I didn't know what I wanted anymore. Did I want to break free? Or did I want to believe? Just then, the door creaked open. Dr. Henley stood there. Not angry. Not alarmed. Just understanding. You've reached the loop threshold, she said softly. Most subjects break. But not you. What am I? I whispered. She stepped closer and reached up to gently touch the end of my braid. You're the future, Rowan. Not because you became something new, but because you were always what we needed you to believe you could become. Tears welled in my eyes, not from sadness, but from the collapse of everything. Every rebellion. Every doubt. Every little moment I thought was mine. Then why let me remember this? I asked. She smiled. So that you choose. Not as Riley. Not as Rowan. But as you. She walked away, leaving me in the dark. Alone with the chip. Alone with the decision. The chip pulsed faintly in my palm. It was warm. Alive almost. Like it knew what it could do. Like it was waiting. On the screen in front of me, that cryptic video file still hovered. Rowan. Emergency reset code. Initiate if subject gains self-awareness. And beneath it, a warning. Proceeding will erase the current identity scaffold and sever all integrated ties. Memory, role, and purpose will default to Phase 0. Phase 0. The beginning before the beginning. I suddenly understood. The chip wasn't meant to save me. It was meant to wipe me. All the pain. All the strength. All the growth. Gone. Was this freedom? Or was it oblivion? I stood up. No mirrors this time. No audience. Just silence and sterile walls and a braid that now felt like a question mark hanging down my back. I left the chip on the terminal. Not out of fear. But because I didn't want to go back to not knowing. Because somewhere between Riley's scripted fragility and Rowan's controlled transformation, something real had emerged. Me. And I wasn't about to surrender that to anyone. Not Holt, not Henley, not Vale, and not the damn chip. That night, a message pinged on my tablet. Encrypted. No sender ID. Just a sentence. If you didn't use the chip, meet me in Mirror Room Delta. Midnight. Come alone. Midnight. I crept past the biometric gates, using my Phase 5 clearance to slip into the West Wing, the one reserved for experimental integrations. The one cadets whispered about but never entered. Mirror Room Delta was unlike the others. Octagonal. Black walls. No reflective surfaces. In the center, a single chair. And a figure waiting. Alyssa. She was alive. She stood slowly, eyes searching mine. I had to disappear, she said. They were watching. They wanted to see what you'd do when I vanished. And the message? I asked. The note? The footage. All planted, she said, with a strange sorrow. But my fear was real. So was my hope. I looked at her and saw it. She was different now. Stronger. Still Alyssa, but not the same. I kept the chip, I said. But I didn't use it. She smiled. I didn't think you would. That's why I came back. She walked to the center of the room and tapped a hidden panel. A section of the floor split open, revealing something unexpected. 2 seats. Side by side. Facing a wide, blank wall. What is this? I asked. She looked at me, eyes suddenly glinting with defiance. This is the next test, Rowan. But this time, we write it. She handed me a small black slate, not a government tablet, not a training console. A blank slate. Literally. No prompts. I asked. No rules, she said. Just one question. The wall in front of us lit up, a sentence forming slowly, letter by glowing letter. Who are you, when no one is watching and no one is programming you? The silence that followed felt sacred. We both sat. We both stared. And then I lifted the slate, and I wrote. I'm not Riley. I'm not Rowan. I am the result of every lie and every truth. I'm the sum of everything they erased and everything they failed to control. Alyssa smiled. I wrote something too. She turned her slate around. I'm Alyssa. I don't need to be real to feel real. I choose who I become. Not them. The room dimmed. Then the wall lit up with 2 words. Accepted. Phase 6 unlocked. Footsteps approached. But not soldiers. Not instructors. Cadets. 12 of them. All wearing gray uniforms, no braids, no names, no ranks. One of them looked at us and said, You passed. Welcome to the author's wing. The author's wing was nothing like the rest of the facility. No cameras. No mirrors. No uniforms. Just raw concrete halls, low humming lights, and rows of reinforced doors labeled with cryptic phrases like Protocol override, myth layering, subject reintegration ethics, obsolete. Phase infinity, internal use only. We weren't cadets anymore. We were living documents. The 12 who welcomed us looked like former trainees, and some were. But none of them used names anymore. Only titles. The archivist. The fractalist. The binder. The voice. Alyssa and I were called. The witness and the echo. We didn't know what those meant yet. But we were told we'd find out. Soon. The archivist, a tall woman with cropped white hair and veins glowing faintly beneath her skin, led us to a circular chamber filled with screens and sound. This is where identities are written, she explained. Every file, every backstory, every fake memory assigned to a trainee was designed here. Alyssa stepped forward. So Riley Monroe was a fiction, the archivist confirmed. But a powerful one. You believed in him because we made you want to. And what now? I asked. Why bring us down here? She turned to me, her gaze sharp. Because we're done inventing characters. Now we're testing whether people like you, hybrids, aware of their own manipulation, can become writers instead of puppets. You want us to rewrite the next generation, Alyssa said. Not rewrite, the archivist whispered. Liberate.